Good day everybody and welcome to Spotlight Mining. I'm Liam Hardy and I'm sat at the bottom of one of Canada's biggest glaciers with Marco, one of Canada's most famous geologists. Marco, what are we doing here?
Well, I'm just here to make geological maps of the areas that Crystal Lake is investigating.
When did you first get into geological mapping?
Oh, it would have been 1980 when I was still a student. I was already mapping. Yeah.
Is it always what you wanted to do?
Yeah, and it's what I focus on. It's my niche, my specialty. Yeah.
So you spent a lot of time up in these mountains. So what can you tell us about this region we're sat in now?
Well, we're in the area of what we refer to as the Golden Triangle, and there's been several big mines discovered. The most famous one, Eskay Creek, which has already been mined out, but it was Canada's richest mine at the time it was operating. And there's many more mines opening up, and hopefully we can open one up in the near future ourselves here.
Yeah. So we're walking around on what I suppose used to be a glacier, right? This is all retreated from this area. How long has that taken?
Well, if the glacier is that close, this place was probably covered under ice a couple of years ago still. Yeah. They're retreating fast now.
And how has that helped mapping and geology in this area?
Well, BC has been pretty trampled in the way of prospectors and explorationists. So the last virgin ground, other than blind discoveries under overburden, is where the glaciers retreat, and we are the first ones to walk this ground here. Yeah.
So, as well as Crystal Lake's property that we're on now, which other regions have you worked in BC?
All of the whole province, BC and the Yukon. I've worked it inside out. Yeah.
Are you always focused on ore geology and mapping for companies, or do you do some...
No, it's always been out for exploration companies, yeah.
What are the best things about working out in BC?
Well, I like the mountains. My niche, another niche other than mapping, is steep ground. I don't call myself a professional climber anymore, but for 30 years that's what I focused on, is working steep terrain, and you don't get that in Ontario or Saskatchewan. You got to be in BC and the Yukon for that.
Yeah, so it looks like we're sat on quite a big igneous complex here. What can you tell us about this?
Well, it's like you say, it's complex. So there's at least 8 different intrusive phases in this area alone. So I'm just mapping it out and trying to figure out which one is younger. What I do is relative, which one is older than the other one, but some academics want to know right down to the nearest 10,000 years how old these things are, and that's for the labs. I don't map that.
But in terms of cross-cutting relationships in the field, you're the first person to see those and put them down. Yeah,
and that's why I map it all out to just put a general relationship age-wise to all these intrusions.
So most people coming through university, they choose geology because of the field work, because they want to be outside in the mountains.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody who wanted to be out here mapping this?
Well, just do what you're planning on doing, because it's just a great way to make a living.
And I mean, there's not many jobs around in terms of mapping. How do you make yourself stand out to get onto those?
Well, you just network. You just got to know people. Go to the conferences, just make yourself known. I'm not tech savvy. I don't like computers, so I don't have a website. But yeah, if you know how to set up a website, do that, and it's the best advertising you got. Thank you.
And leading on from that, obviously you've been in exploration for a long time. How has the industry changed since you first joined?
Oh, it's much more technical. Yeah, in the old days, we'd go to camp with a roll of maps under our arms in May, and we'd come out in October and unroll the maps on the boardroom table for the company you work for and show them what you've done this summer. And now they want to know every day. They got to have internet, and they want to know day by day what your progress is. It's just much more instant knowledge, and I find it not quite preferential to the way it used to be.
Do you find it more difficult to make sort of regional interpretations, doing day-by-day data, rather than building on it over time?
Well, that's what I do anyway. I just map things out, and as I map, the picture becomes more clear. But more data is available. When I started geology, they had basic maps that the GSC, the Geological Survey of Canada, did, and that would be the information I had to go with. But now you've got literally generations of previous companies doing work, so you got to sift through everything that they have done so you don't repeat work, and just build up on what they have done.
And how much do you follow existing work when you're out in the field, and how much do you like to make your own interpretation with fresh eyes?
Well, I do my own. That's what they hire me for. I make my own interpretations, and that go along with the map. So I don't just produce a map, but I write a brief report on it about what my interpretations are.
And in terms of Crystal Lake's property here, which areas are your favourite?
Well, this is, I'm just starting here, but the Northwest Zone, there is an area where previous companies have already put in about 50 drill holes and already delineated a small resource of gold. So there is gold there, and we haven't found any yet here on my second day. So far that one would be the better one. But there's lots more. I'm going to start on the Chochi pretty soon, and that sounds like it could be a big copper type deposit. It's again a complex of intrusive rocks. So, and that's quite ideal for targeting porphyry type deposits, which are the large tonnage deposits for copper usually, and preferably with gold as well.
What's the best thing you've come across in the field?
Well, I found visible gold in the Yukon in a shear zone. And that the assays indicated, the original assays of the two samples I took were 64 ounce per ton gold, which is basically 4 pounds per ton gold. But it was only a 30 centimeter wide shear zone. And with more systematic sampling, it averaged out to 5 ounce per ton gold, which is still a very good high grade operation.
Well, that's your discovery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So, thank you very much for joining us today for the interview. It's been really good to chat.
All right, thanks.
Looking forward to the rest of the day in the field. Cheers, Michael.
Oh yeah, well, we'll see some neat, interesting rocks. Yeah.